There are few quarterbacks that could divide opinion as quickly as Michael Vick. His story is one of extreme controversy, kicked off by thrilling success before he met an abrupt demise, and deservedly so. But then, redemption. From a prison sentence to the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. The nostalgic memories of Mike Vick scrambling in his prime are historic. And today we'll take a trip back to memory lane. So how good was Michael Vick in his prime? And what might have been if things had never gone so horribly wrong? It all began in a public housing project in Virginia, Ridley Circle, Newport News. And as he recalls, the sounds of violence were a part of everyday life. Just a kid, age 11 or 12, Michael heard gunshots every night, every single night. His parents were mere teenagers themselves when he was born, barely able to make ends meet, and the streets were all Vick saw for a large portion of his young life. He was saved by his grandmother's affection for her faith, with the Bible ever present in their lives. Vick has spoken openly about the temptations of gang violence and the things he saw in the streets. With seemingly nowhere to turn, the lure was strong. But the Bible offered him comfort and the hope of achieving his dream of making it to the NFL. He kept the Bible under his pillow every night. He felt it gave him an edge, fighting an uphill battle as a black quarterback at a time when the NFL was predominantly white. He spent one season at a local high school before it was closed, then moving to Warwick High School along with his coach. At Warwick, Vick spent 3 seasons as the starter, putting up impressive numbers, including 6 rushing touchdowns and 3 passing touchdowns in just a single game. With a choice between Syracuse and Virginia Tech, Vick favored the latter thanks to the approach of Coach Frank Beamer. One of the longest-serving coaches in college football history, Beamer had been with the Hokies since 1986. But Michael Vick was the recruit who defined his career, and Beamer knew it right away. Beamer had promised to give Michael the time he needed to develop rather than throwing him into the starting role. They'd agreed on a redshirt year, a full season to learn the ropes and get up to speed at the collegiate level, which paid off immediately in 1999. While he never saw the field as a true freshman, Michael Vick was patiently preparing. He kept his head down, and Coach Beamer attested to the fact that he never had a single issue. He couldn't say enough good things about the young man. In 1999, he was unleashed. The game wasn't the way it is now back then. Quarterbacks didn't throw for 4,000 yards in a season, but quarterbacks didn't do what Michael Vick did either. The Hokies won their first game of the season 47-0 over James Madison, and that set the tone for the 2 years that followed. Vick led them to an 11-0 record as a redshirt freshman, dominating in his first taste of college ball. Lane Stadium was sold out every week. The fan base had never seen anything like it, and neither had the world of college football. While they didn't throw the ball a lot, Vick was clinical when they did. He led the NCAA in passing efficiency, with defenses so concerned with the ground game that they were unable to cover the Hokies' passing attack. Paired with an impressive defense that held teams to 10 points or less 6 times that season, Virginia Tech went undefeated, and they were headed to the BCS National Championship game. The Hokies lost that game, but Vick had led a fourth-quarter drive that had given them the lead against a very strong Florida State team. It wasn't to be, but Michael Vick had still cast his name into the spotlight, and his dreams of playing in the NFL were right around the corner. Virginia Tech entered the following season ranked 11th in the nation, and Vick picked right up where he left off. Their only loss that season came on the road against the number 3 ranked Miami Hurricanes, a game that Michael Vick did not start due to injury. Had they been healthy, many believed the team deserved another shot at the national championship, and had they gotten it, Michael Vick might have won it the second time around. The win in the Gator Bowl would be his final moments of college football, returning home to his family after 2 seasons in college and entering the 2001 NFL Draft. Vick stunned at his pro day, running an incredible 4.3 40-yard dash that beat any time of any quarterback in NFL history. The Hokie star paved the way for a new generation of dual-threat quarterbacks, and as a black man, he was one of the first to break the mold. Playing his way, Michael Vick challenged the prototypical perception of an NFL quarterback. Pocket passers had their time, and MV7 was ready to shake things up. The Atlanta Falcons were one of those teams drowning in mediocrity with an average set of quarterbacks throughout the 1990s. The one chance they had at success with Brett Favre, they unknowingly traded away, and it wasn't until 1998 that they found themselves on the map, making the Super Bowl with Chris Chandler at the helm. Still, just a season later, they were back to 4-12 and ready to make a big swing in the draft to alter their fate. Atlanta traded their first-rounder and a third-rounder to the San Diego Chargers to come up to the number 1 spot the day before the draft. The selection? Michael Vick out of Virginia Tech. He played sparingly in his rookie season before he was handed the keys to the franchise in 2002. Atlanta made the playoffs again right away, going 9-6-1 in the regular season. Mike threw 3 touchdowns in Week 3 and a 33 win over the Cincinnati Bengals, giving Atlanta their first win of the season. Before too long, defenses were starting to feel what it was like to try and defend a quarterback who could run a 4-3. They weren't prepared for it, nor had they seen it before, and Mike was playing like he was carrying a football in the backyard. In both Week 7 against Carolina and Week 7 on the road against the Saints, the Falcons QB ran for over 90 yards, scoring 3 touchdowns on the ground across the 2 games combined. But in Week 12, with the road game against the Minnesota Vikings, he called game all on his own. Facing Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss and company, Mike Vick tied the game up in the third quarter with a 28-yard scamper into the end zone. In overtime, 46 yards out, he rolled left, cut back up the middle, and had defenders scrambling and running each other over as he artistically ran through them all and into the end zone. Game over. Falcons win, and Michael Vick stole the headlines. He was playing the quarterback position in a way the NFL had never seen before and won a playoff game in his very first year. Mike was voted a Pro Bowler in his first season of eligibility with 2,936 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, and 8 picks. But that wasn't all. He also ran for 777 rushing yards, scoring another 8 touchdowns on the ground. Sadly, the 2003 season was almost washed away completely thanks to a fractured leg in the preseason. Vick missed all but the final 4 games of the season, which stunted his development in the league. Atlanta went 5-11 without him. Dan Reeves was fired late in the year, and everything was about to change. The man appointed in Reeves' place was Jim Mora, and the two would spend another 3 seasons together before it all came crashing down. Since retiring, Vick has been honest about his refusal to study and watch film in Atlanta. He stockpiled tapes from Coach Mora in his car but never watched them. Vick lacked a role model to teach him what it meant to be a professional quarterback and the leader of a franchise. He thought he could continue to outperform everybody on the field as he had in high school, even in college, with minimal effort required and a lot of athleticism. The NFL caught him off guard, and while he had some incredible moments early in his career, the development didn't really come with it. He would never be denied on the ground, though. 902 rushing yards in 2004 set a new career high. And during that season, in a game against the Denver Broncos, Vick became the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for over 250 passing yards while rushing for 100+ on the ground in the same game. He was a true trailblazer for the dual-threat quarterback, but he needed guidance, and his relationship with Coach Mora was perhaps too friendly to discipline Vick into making good decisions and developing as a professional. Vick takes the blame for his lapse in judgment during those years with the Falcons, and it certainly got worse, but right before it all fell apart, Vick had the best season of his career. In 2006, the Atlanta Falcons didn't make the playoffs, but statistically, Michael Vick was better than ever. He threw for 2,474 yards and 20 touchdowns, a new career high in touchdown passes. But doing what he did best, improvising, scrambling, and making plays on the fly, Vick posted the first 1,000-yard rushing season ever recorded by a quarterback. It was an incredible achievement, and one that has only since been emulated by 2 other players, Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields. However, that joy would quickly fade when just 4 months after the season, Vick's home was raided, and he was arrested and charged with 2 felonies linked to dogfighting. He was sentenced to 23 months in federal prison, and his NFL career appeared to be over. Everything was falling apart. His financial advisor had quit on him because he was taking bad advice from friends, making terrible investments, and ignoring any plan of wealth management. He'd refused to study as a quarterback, got in with the bad crowd, and now he was going to jail. The temptations he'd done so well to avoid growing up in a bad neighborhood had caught up with him when he got to the NFL. He had handled the overnight success poorly, paid the price. However, after serving 21 months behind bars and getting out, Michael Vick was in search of a fresh start. He teamed up with legendary coach Tony Dungy, who mentored him as he worked towards a potential return to the league. While incredibly controversial, his shot came in Philadelphia, signing a one-year deal with the Eagles under head coach Andy Reid. According to reports, it was Donovan McNabb's idea to sign Vick, and that was the moment everything changed. The two had met on a hosting visit at Syracuse, and that sparked a relationship that eventually began in Philadelphia. Many remember the explosive talent of Michael Vick in Atlanta, but he had his best success as a professional in Philadelphia under Coach Reid. Michael talked about the professionalism of Donovan McNabb, the way he carried himself, and the way he worked. Vick said that he started to take his job more seriously. If McNabb was getting in early to lift, work out, and watch film, he was going to be there too. He started to study, develop himself, and look to find the best version of himself in the NFL. That, paired with the trust of a coaching staff led by Andy Reid, Michael Vick's redemption arc was sensational. In 2010, the Eagles traded their long-heralded franchise quarterback Donovan McNabb to NFC East rivals, the Washington Redskins, and Michael Vick was given a shot as a starting quarterback once again. Mike met the challenge with the best season of his career, throwing for 3,108 yards and 21 touchdowns in just 12 games, with another 676 rushing yards and a career-high 9 touchdowns on the ground. His efforts and performance on the field were met with strong applause around the league, and Vick went on to win the NFL Comeback Player of the Year award for that 2010 season. He'd throw for over 3,000 yards again the following season, enjoying the 2 greatest years of his career in an Andy Reid system that gave him new life not only as a player, but as a man. Vick has shown immense gratitude to the likes of Roger Goodell, Tony Dungy, Coach Reid, and Donovan McNabb in Philly for allowing him the chance to prove himself to the world all over again. The fact that he was able to make it back, work his way back into an NFL franchise, and then start for another 3 seasons in the NFL is remarkable. And while the mistakes he made were unforgivable, he's living proof that a man's worst moments don't have to define them for the rest of their lives. Michael Vick came from the struggle to the stardom of the NFL before he fell all the way back down to the very bottom. Many might have given up and conceded to the lifestyle that perhaps believed was meant for them all along. But Michael Vick fought his way out a second time, battled his demons, and won. And that Comeback Player of the Year story will forever be one of the most powerful in NFL history because of it.